Thank you, Chairman Thompson, Ranking Member Katko. I appreciated the questions by all of my colleagues and Representative Slotkin, who just spoke, especially in reference to cyber attacks and ransomware. So JBS is in my district, and it was affected, less so the plant within my district than the entire infrastructure of JBS. And I've also, as a state senator, worked on legislation for ransomware attacks that our local government had experienced when they've been hacked. And interesting enough, when people communicated to me in my district about the provision of the reconciliation bill with the increase in IRS agents and looking into accounts where there was a $600 transaction, often I was asked about hacking and did this make us less secure? So I think this is an extraordinarily important topic, and I appreciate Chairman Thompson bringing this forward today. Director Easterly, on the topic of the new CISA authorities provided in last year's NDAA, one of the more important provisions authorizes CISA to subpoena internet service providers to obtain contact information for critical infrastructure operators where CISA has identified vulnerable devices on the internet, and so that these devices can be secured before they are attacked. Can you provide the committee a status update on the implementation? How many subpoenas has CISA issued to date?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's a really, really important authority. We have issued over, I believe, 35 administrative subpoenas to date. And we have seen, because we go back and we rescan the infrastructure where we saw those vulnerabilities, we've rescanned that and we've saw those vulnerabilities actually get closed. So we believe this tool is enabling us to mitigate and remediate vulnerabilities and to make folks aware of vulnerabilities that they probably were not tracking. So we've used that aggressively since we've gotten it, and I'm really pleased to say that we've operationalized it in a way that is helping us reduce risk.
So you answered one of my follow-up questions, so I'm going to go to the next one. Have you identified any shortcomings of the program that you think need to be addressed?
Well, since we're just in the I guess about 6 months, 9 months of operationalization. I have not yet seen specific shortcomings, but I will absolutely come back to you and let you know if we need something different or more from this authority.
I think with the recent attacks, people are much more aware of this now, so it is a topic of conversation. So thank you, and we would appreciate the feedback. I also think that all of us are in agreement that we need to double down on our efforts to provide proactive vulnerability identification to critical infrastructure entities, particularly those that identify as being particularly critical for economic and national security. And I think we've heard this from several members. We don't want a single point of failure resulting in cascading impact for the country at large. Do we have the processes and technology in place to execute on this proactive vulnerability identification and notification at scale? And are we effectively looking at vulnerabilities across critical infrastructure community through the eyes of an attacker?
I'll start and happy for Director Inglis to weigh in. I think it's exactly the right question. As we know, everything is connected, everything is interdependent these days, everything sits on that technology baseline, and therefore everything is potentially vulnerable. So we work very hard to make sure that business owners, small and large, critical infrastructure owners and operators, state and local, the American people, have a good understanding of what they need to do to ensure that their software is patched, to ensure that we're taking care of vulnerabilities and to have the basics that we need. I would also commend the incredible research community, those researchers, those academics, those hackers out there who are doing yeoman's work in being able to help identify these vulnerabilities, bring them to us through the Coordinated Vulnerability Disclosure Platform, because that helps make us all safer and more secure. I would point to the binding operational directive, ma'am, that we issued today that I think is really groundbreaking in that for the first time, this is really giving timelines to remediate those specific vulnerabilities that we know have been actively exploited by adversaries, not just all vulnerabilities, but the ones that we think are most dangerous. And I think that can make a real difference, not just for federal agencies, but from a signaling perspective for our critical infrastructure owners and operators and from businesses large and small around the country.
Thank you so much. And Director Inglis, I apologize. I've run out of time, so I won't be able to get your answer to this, but thank you so much. And thank you, Chairman Thompson. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back.